We're back for part 2. We have placed all the schematic symbols. We've wired everything. They've all been annotated, R1, R2, R3, etc. We have done our electrical rules check. We have associated each one of our symbols to a PCB footprint and have generated the net list. So we are ready to go to build a PCB. So we'll close this one down, come back here, and we will open up KiCad PCB. And then the first thing you want to do is read the net list. Come up here, hit that. Basically default everything for right now. You say read and then watch down here. So read the current net list. And that was pretty quick. If you scroll through this list, don't just assume, scroll through and you're looking for anything red. Everything in here, added, added, added. Nothing was wrong there. Close this, and then it looked like it was going to place it right up there, but it gives you a chance to move it around. You can bring it in like this. New with 5.0, they will automatically kind of separate everything, which is nice rather than just plop it right over the top of each other like they used to do. So that's good. And then, you start to move this thing around. I kind of wish it might be in here. Haven't found it yet to expand it even further. But you basically come over the top of each one of these things, hit M to move. Oops. Click away, click in the background. M to move, but be careful that you don't just grab a pad or words like right there. You see how I just grabbed the words, hit escape to clip that off there. Find a spot on your devices where you know they're kind of good to get a hold of. Move them off to the side. Just kind of get everything out. Oops. A little bit further out to help you try to begin to make sense of it. So we have the first initial task of laying everything out just to be able to route it decently and get it into our board size that we want to have it, but then also placing things in kind of an aesthetically pleasing way, which, you know, what's the aesthetically pleasing way to lay out resistors? You know, probably not such a big deal, but these LEDs is kind of what I'm talking about. How do I want the LEDs placed on this board? Do we want to put them on all four corners? Do we want to have them all along the side? What do we want to do? Because of the mandate of the Future Lab of 1 inch square, I want to first off get the kind of the 1 inch square defined. So I'm going to go over here to our track and, or sorry, not to our track, our grid, and I'm going to change it to, how about 100 thou? They say mils, say thou, 100 thou spacing. And then I can start drawing the line for the edge cuts. That's the thing you want to remember. So your edge cuts down here, this layer, again, we have not done a video yet on specifically the layers, but edge cuts is, if you hover over it, says board's perimeter definition. So it's where they're going to cut the board out. If you look right down here, you will find your absolute coordinates, so your XY position, that's not going to change. Over here, this is going to be the, let's say, the based upon the origin of your choosing. So, for example, if I were to come up here, it is kind of weird to do it with just the mouse like this, but if I were to just move this around anywhere, you see how it doesn't snap to anything? If I hit spacebar, watch down here, if I hit spacebar, it zeroes that out, and now as I move it around, the XY is relative to that position. The reason it didn't make sense is because there was no dot to snap to right there. So what we're going to do is you're going to pick, again, your edge cuts over here, and then you're going to say graphic lines. So you pick this, and now it will snap to the grid lines. You will also want to come over here, since we're thinking inches for right now, set the units to inches here. Now, come out here somewhere. It doesn't really matter. You might zoom in and out to make sure that you actually have enough space to do this in. So I'm going to come up here to just, I don't know, that dot there because it's more on the bold line. I don't know. Hit space bar, and then I'm going to come down here a little bit, and I can see this is definitely, it's easy to see that this is going to be within 1 inch. So I can go here. There's 0, 0, click. Bring it down until you get to 1 inch. Come over one by one, up here, click, click. And that little trailer, escape to clip that off. Now with that defined, I think you might be able to see that we already have a bit of a challenge ahead of us. So flip back over to your cursor here, move this over, and now we need to start figuring out how we're going to place this. Because of what we might be doing with this as a lab, I'm believing that our battery and our switch should be over on the same side, and then maybe we'll run the resistors and the LEDs along the side like that. Move this over here and rotate it. Put it in here somewhere like this. You see how the grid snaps are not so good right now? I'm going to click that there, and I will go back to, I just prefer millimeters, so you do whatever you like. There, I'll go back to 1 millimeter spacing. Move that kind of into there, and then the switch, grab that. Also realize this footprint that we chose has got an outline on it, but we don't necessarily need that. I could scoot this all the way up to here, you know, if you like. That's not a bad idea. Pick this one, move that up. There, now they're kind of even. Then we need to move the resistors in, I guess. Oh. This, I think, has changed a little bit, by the way. I might look for this in preferences. You used to just be able to hover over, and then you could say M for move, but now it appears that you actually have to click, because that's like the second or third time I've done that, where I just come over here and I do something out of a habit. And so I'm thinking that that's kind of different than it used to be. So the resistors, oh boy, we'll put this one here. See that? Yep, see? It must have been different before, because I wouldn't be doing that out of habit like so many times over and over again. I think I don't like that. All right, well, it's puzzle time, so we will go into fast motion. Then to get started, you come over here, you find your tracks button, route tracks, and you have to then start deciding what to connect to what first. And it is, it's a really big puzzle. You could just start connecting whatever's around here, but it's almost kind of like a solitaire game of sorts. You pick, say, from here to there, from here to here, and here to here. Pretty soon, you're going to have tracks that are running across here, and then, you know, this route here needs to go over to here, but it can't cross over this line. And so then you have to figure out how to go all the way around it. Then you learn that, hey, you know, we can go through and drill through and go with a via to the other side. And that's fine. So you're like, yeah, that's how I'll do it. But then pretty soon, if you don't think accordingly or properly, you're going to end up with double traces going along here on the top and the bottom is what I'm trying to say. And then you'll block yourself out again. So probably try to think about ahead of the game as possible. And I'm thinking that I'll start with kind of some outside traces here. Be very careful about running things from one side straight across, because that's a wall. So think walls. You don't want to create too many large walls right off the bat. So if I come here, if I click, then you bring it out and you see, this is kind of new too. It's highlighting where it needs to go to. That's nice. Don't run it through here over to there. You see, I think that's kind of obvious that that's about the worst way to do this. Bring it out over here, right on the edge of the board. Click so that it kind of anchors it a little bit, and then run it in. I don't want to run it in like that. There, sure, like that. Try to avoid, let's say, avoid 90-degree corners. Everything should have kind of like a smooth curve into it. Then let's see, what next? This from here to here, from here to here. Let's go with this here. Now you see if I run this over here, it's definitely going to cause problems with this getting over to here and this over to here. Something's going to have to give. Now don't start making vias through to the back side right off the bat either. Do your best to stay on the top layer as much as you can so you don't end up screwing yourself over by creating too many traces on the back and the front and creating walls again. Let's try from here to here, I think. Now realize that this component doesn't exist. We can go all through it, under it. That's not a block. That's not a blockade. We can move through it. So we'll bring this over here and over into here. Now, if I bring it over here and into here, again, I created this area that maybe I didn't need to have. So try to keep everything about as tight over to this side as possible, because you can see that I'm almost done routing this side. Nothing needs to go over there. So if I try to keep it there, there we go. Double click and it stops it. By the way, you see the little extra lines around here, and when I'm drawing it, there's an extra line around there. That's because of your design rules. That is already, by default, it's an edge spacing, an edge margin between your tracks, your routes, and any other components. How about, this might be problematic, but yeah, let's just go from here. Let's do it. Go from here, and then we'll sneak through here, right? Over. It's interesting. 5, it doesn't quite give you the control that you had in the other one, as far as clicking where you want and bending. Not that big of a deal. Okay, so now we're here, here. So these are all in parallel. So you see what's happening here? That's going to be pretty easy. So we'll connect to there, and then from there to there, from there, here. Okay, that's good. That let me do it. Thought I was a little bit close as far as the spacing, the edge margin was going. Then all of these here are going to get connected. Okay, you see now we've got a wall here, so I'm going to have to go all the way around or down or through. Let's deal with that later. Come over here, click this. This goes to there, no big deal. This goes to here, good. And then this goes over to here. Now, this trace right here, what I'm trying to do is keep it as close to here inside as possible. Over here on the other side, I was trying to keep it as close to the outside. I am concerned that some of these things I might, like these guys over here, I might need to route them all the way around. I actually don't think that's going to be the case. So I'll scoot this right there. Then these right here, connect those together. Connect those together. And this is all right. We're almost done. Now comes the trickier part, which is not even tricky. I need to connect all of these together, and I need to get from here to here. So let's do this one here, because this is kind of a great prelim to how we're going to do this. Notice up here, it says we're on the front copper. You can also see that with your arrow over here, front copper. If I want to change it, I can hit the drop down here. I can change it. If I want to change it over here, I can click there, and it will change the layer. I can also hit page up and page down here on my keyboard to go from front to back. Copper. Okay. The other way, kind of, sort of, that I can do this is, notice I'm on the front copper. I'm going to come off of here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit V for via, and it punches a hole through. And as soon as I click, that seems to be a little bit different, by the way, with 5 than from 4. You got to click for it to actually register that's on the back layer. But see, now we're green, and now we're on the back layer. And so then I can click over here, and I can bring this in. Now, this is a through-hole component. All this stuff is through-hole, so it doesn't matter if you connect from the top or the bottom. If you're doing surface mount components, which is what we're going to go to pretty directly after these first couple exercises, then you need to punch a hole. I'll show you. We need to punch a hole back through to the top, and now we lost our trace. That's weird. And we're still here, so now I got to hit page up to get back to the top, and then I can click here, and I'm there. That's the idea. A couple weird things happen there as I was clicking that were different from 4 to 5. So a couple small little mechanism functionality things here. With the vias, when I clicked, when I hit V for via, it didn't automatically, it made the via, but it didn't automatically drop me over to, I didn't see this change to the back layer immediately, so I had to click. Then it changed to green, and it showed me I was on the back, and I was able to continue. I clicked again over here. I did a via, and it made a via, and then I thought I should click again. It would bring me to the top, and what it did is it seemed to clip off the trace, and then I stopped drawing. And so then I had to click on the via, but then I was still on the back layer, so then I had to hit page up on the keyboard to bring myself to the front and then connect it. So I'm not really digging that so much, but I'll get used to it. Then I'll come over here. Now, if I want to start on the top layer, and this is kind of a habit because I'm used to surface mount components, I'm always starting from the top, and then I'll sneak over and then pop through. But these, again, being through hole, I can start page down. You see, I just changed to the back layer, and I can take this here and bring it over there. Because see, I'm on the back layer. It doesn't matter that I cross layers, and I have the pad on the back side to connect to. So then I'll come over here, go like this. Don't like that. Kink in there like that. Okay, whatever. And that's it. We're done. That was great. That was actually really pretty good. I would have liked to have maybe a little bit more need to do the vias and going through there to talk about that a little bit more, but you saw it. So we started from the top, and we did everything on the top that we possibly could, and we were mindful of where we were heading and not creating traces that are running right through the middle right off the bat. Used our vias at the last minute when we needed to, and we're done. Now there's a couple more things that we might do to this if we wanted to, but I want to kind of keep it, basically just like this. The thing I'm thinking about right now is some filled zones or flooded ground planes. Let's do that later. So this will work, it will function. I am going to go here and try to reorganize these a little bit because looking at it, I think I can get it to be kind of okay rather than go through and hide everything. So I'm thinking if I can grab D4 and bring him up, D2 I'll grab and bring him up, click, drag, click, or click, oh, that's a different, M for move, and you see the reference numbers here, they're, this is R4 here, and the designator here is above it, so you want to grab that, and we'll just put it right over the top. And then the same with R1. Oops. And then R3 we'll bring right here. To keep going with the scheme, we'll go there. We'll bring BT into there. Watch out for this yellow line, because we did kind of a goofy thing and put the footprint off the edge of the board. So realize that that's where it's going to get cut. And matter of fact, the edge margin on that trace is pretty close. So I think I want to, oh, well that's different too. The node doesn't move. That's fine. If you're following along, you should be following along. If yours is right along the edge there, maybe move it in. just in case. I'm going to delete it and start over. Now, if you delete these things, realize that sometimes there's a little bit of a nub that gets hidden under a pad. And even though it won't cause maybe a problem, do your best to get rid of it. You could also run a design rules check. So now it's DRC and not the ERC. Hit this and start it. And we've got no problems. You're like, no problems? Wait, that's not even connected. Well, we don't have any little hanging out ones, but if you go to, incorrectly connected traces, if you go to unconnected, though, it will tell you that right here, obviously, we've got a problem. Yeah, let's run this one on the back here. We'll come over through here like that. And now everything is nice and clear from the edge. Everything's all connected. This thing is ready to go. Okay? So, save this and we're going to go to OshPark. So, OshPark does have the ability to take your KiCad PCB file. So we don't even have to export this as a Gerber file yet. So this is great. We're just going to go super training wheels. We've got a pretty basic schematic. We've got a fairly tight board here with a 1" by 1" tolerance with all these little guys on here. A pretty simple route. And we're not even going to plot it out, export it out into Gerber files or drill files. We're just going to upload it straight from PCB. Save, close, done. So this is OshPark. You're going to want to create an account and sign in. Then after you're logged in, you're going to find your PCB files and drag them in here. So give me a second to find them. Okay, so here is my PCB file right here. I'm going to take this and drag this right over there. Get that out of the way. What's really nice about all these board houses is that when you're especially new at this and you're creating something and you're not really sure if you're going through the process right, if you did everything you're supposed to do, you get some really great positive feedback right here. You see, here's my board. It looks like it's supposed to. And down here, they even have a little bit of a warning section telling you, hey, by the way, did you do this? If there's anything wrong, they'll let you know, as far as I've seen. Then after you've decided that you're happy with what you see here, then you can scroll down and hit continue. And then you can see all the broke out layers. So this is your board top and board bottom as we saw before, but then here is the separated layers, if you will. So here's our drill file. Top layer, bottom solder mask. Pay attention to these names. Bottom layer, top solder mask, top silk screen, maybe bottom silk screen if you had it, and then your edge cuts, right? Your board outline. So these are the things that you need to export out separately if you're going to some of the other board houses that don't accept a KiCad PCB file. And so those are the Gerber files that we'll talk about later and we mentioned and talked about in previous videos. When you are ready to go, then you come down here, hit order, and there you go. So you can see we've got 3, that's the minimum boards we're going to get for $5.05. And there's a few more options that you can pick if you want. Super Swift service here will add on another $5 if you want to get it fast. But from here on out, you hit checkout and you're going to get your board. So go ahead and ship these off. I would like everybody to go through the process of getting a product, so you can see, how long does it take to get, what does it look like when you get it in your hands, and how is it to solder on, anything that you might need to know from a tangibility standpoint. And I'm also thinking that this will actually count as the lab. So let's just call this lab done, because I was calling this kind of like the preliminary lab to the actual lab, but the actual lab was really the same thing with like a voltage regulator on it. And you can already see that the 1 inch by 1 inch spacing here is really not going to be, we can't get a voltage regulator in here along with all this surface mount components. So I think we'll do this, call this one done. The next one will be a bit more complicated. And we'll definitely be moving on into surface mount components and call through hole essentially done unless we need it for certain other components that require it, like your MOSFETs and such. By the way, forgot about this. Free shipping.